Hi, I'm Dr. Nidhi Khare. In my previous lecture on resolving conflict, that is part A of this lecture, I discussed about the problem of conflict. I also discussed about the types of conflict and how do we effectively manage conflict. In today's lecture, that is part B of how do we resolve conflict, I'm going to talk about managing cooperative conflict. Students, though we often view conflict through a negative lens, teams require some conflict to operate effectively. So, some conflict, if it is there, teams will definitely work towards operating effectively. Cooperative conflict can contribute to effective problem solving and decision making by motivating people to examine a problem. The key here is to understand how to handle it constructively. If members understand how to do it, differences that arise can result in benefits for a team. In the previous lecture, I also discussed about that while it is true that suppressed differences can reduce the effectiveness of a team, when they are brought to the surface, disagreements can be dealt with and problems can be resolved. And when people share their views and strive towards reaching a consensus, better decisions are reached. Team members also improve their communication skills and become better at understanding and listening to the information they receive when differences are freely aired. So, basically, in today's lecture, I'm going to give you some tips on improving your listening skills. Listening is one of the most important skills you can have. How will you listen has a major impact on your job effectiveness and on the quality of your relationships with others. Understanding is not agreeing in listening. Seek clarification before responding if needed. Apply listening skills when receiving a message. Evaluate yourself for how well you listened at the end of any conversation. The tension of well-managed conflict allows teams to confront disagreement through healthy discussion and improve the decisions made. And this leads to greater team efficiency and effectiveness. Effectively managing conflict allows teams to stay focused on their goals, and swift and constructive conflict management leads to a broader understanding of the problem. It leads to healthy expression of different ideas or alternatives, and it creates excitement from the positive interaction and involvement, which will help the team through periods of transition and on to greater levels of performance. Now, as teams become more responsible for managing themselves, it is important for organizations to help them by identifying the knowledge, skills, and abilities required to handle conflict. Then, developing plans to transfer these skills and capabilities over to their teams. Because conflict is inevitable in teams, the focus needs to be on how it is managed. Conflict that is poorly handled creates an environment of fear and avoidance of the subject. And on the other hand, if properly managed, it can lead to learning, creativity, and growth. So, students, for becoming an active listener, you need to pay attention, you need to give your undivided attention and acknowledge the speaker's message. And with your body language and gestures, you have to show that you are listening, provide feedback, you should reflect what is being said and ask questions, and you should allow the speaker to finish each point before you ask questions. And lastly, respond appropriately. Because again, I repeat, if you handle the conflict properly, it can lead to learning, creativity, and growth. So that is all for today's lecture. In the next lecture, I'm going to talk about team resolution process and 5 P's of conflict management. Thank you.